What's going on? My name is Joe and I practice talking on the internet. And today we are talking about the unavoidable man, Joe Rogan. And it's a fight night. It's a whole other thing. Anyway, we're talking about Joe Rogan and I want to defend Joe Rogan because I think he does have value in this world that we have. But I do believe that there is a growing misrepresentation or misinterpretation. I don't know exactly what the word is, but there's some nonsense going on that I want to clear the air on. And I hope is you can use this framework of my argumentation to kind of contextualize where Joe exists. So when you hear people make arguments like we need a left Joe Rogan, which we'll talk about a little bit later, or we need more people like Joe Rogan, you can understand why that's a little silly. And feel free to leave comments below if you want to continue the conversation beyond this video. I'll try my best to keep this short. So here we go. Joe Rogan is fundamentally an entertainer and part of the entertainment landscape. His work is not journalism, and it should not be evaluated by journalistic standards. Any discussion of his effectiveness should focus on his role as an entertainer and in the entertainment landscape. Rogan's format is, for better or worse, controversial. It's not journalistic. So he invites a wide variety of guests to talk with him, not to conduct formal interviews. He retains full creative control over who appears on his show, a fact he's acknowledged publicly. Guests don't apply to be on his show. They are selected and invited by him. His effectiveness lies in his controversial style and his ability to listen to the people that he talks to. He engages with them in dialogue and at times questions or even pushes back on things that they say. This approach is not consistent or rigorous, but reflects his limitations and his expertise, which is fine because he's primarily known as two things, a comedian and a boxer. I just said a boxer, an MMA fighter, an MMA commentator. These are his fields of authority, and outside of them, he doesn't know shit. This relatability that he creates from that and his openness about not being an expert in most areas makes him accessible to ordinary people. Because like all of us, we have specialties and expertise. And this means that he'll occasionally make mistakes. He'll occasionally misunderstand issues. He'll occasionally go on entire tirades of misinformation. But that's expected because that's something that you, myself, and others have participated in just natural conversations before, right? The stakes for him being wrong are incredibly low. If he's wrong, misleading, what have you, they're low because he's not a politician or someone in a formal position of power, although he does have influence. And his influence is often misinterpreted, right? So in some ways, people worry about his mistakes because they could have a sort of ripple effect to the public discourse, which is a true concern. But this is where journalists and media professionals have a role to play, right? They have a responsibility to contextualize and cover situations where entertainers are publicly incorrect, loudly incorrect, and ensuring that accurate information is reaching to the public, while this other stuff, the words that he's saying in a podcast in context, are happening at the same time. There's an underlying expectation that entertainers are going to be wrong, they're going to mislead the people that they talk to, or even just spread misinformation. And Joe Rogan is no exception. And this also should not surprise us when it happens. His role is not to serve as an arbiter of facts and truth. He created a platform for varied, open-ended conversations for entertainment. Joe Rogan, like every other entertainer, brings a level of community with his content, which is something that is important and valuable. You are in community with the other people who watch him. However, because he's an entertainer, there's no desire to organize this group of people who watch his content towards any type of political action, political organization, or political activism. He has you and everybody who watches him exactly where he needs you to be, at home listening to his shit. So people will question the danger of, like, when I was talking to my friend about a thing, he said, no, his favorite podcast was Joe Rogan. My friend who rides limousines, what he listens to? Joe Rogan. My friend who Ubers back and forth and delivers through DoorDash, what he's listening to during the entire time? Joe Rogan. And that's exactly where he wants you to be. He wants you to be isolated from your communities. He wants you to be isolated from the people around you listening to his shit. And it's no different than any other entertainer. Like, the entertainer and their purpose is to keep you locked in at home, unorganized. It's really important to understand that all of the things that I mentioned bring value to him, right? Like, even though we are this deeply disorganized group of people, there is a role that entertainment has to play in terms of cultivating a community, even though we're isolated. But that can't be the only thing, right? There's different levels of media and types of media that we need to engage in. There's levels of different types of information that we need to engage in. And if we're only dedicated and obsessed with getting our information from entertainers, then we're in trouble. What makes Joe Rogan so powerful is that he's the only person who can do that type of content. So you can't argue that the left needs a Joe Rogan or the right needs a Hassan Abi. They already have all these spaces, whether it be liberal in the Rachel Maddows and the Joy Reids of the world, the sort of like left individuals like Bad Faith Podcast, and the like. Names are just escaping me right now. And even all the right-wing ones, like the Charlie Kirks, the Tim Pools, etc. What makes them all so effective is that they are effective in their niche, and effective in their niche as entertainers. They're not journalists. They might have some experience in journalism in the past, like Tim Pool, but they're entertainers. They're entertainers. They're on a different level of play, and a different level of standards. And I would argue that while entertainers have value, we need to expand farther beyond entertainers. We need to be engaging with journalists, actual journalists, not entertainers masquerading as journalists. I'm looking at you, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. There's an entire media landscape that's riddled with the entertainer journalist, the person who sits up there, reports a news story, and then spends 5 hours talking about the same news story with a bunch of different people in a round table. Journalism can be entertaining, but that's not, like, journalism has a particular function in society. Entertainers have a particular function in society. And we can't run into this trap that I think we continually run into, where we interpret journalists as entertainers as journalists. Journalists have a field that they're in, and they do that thing really well. Entertainers have a field that they're in, and they do that thing very well. But we can't, like, put Joe Rogan in this box where we stick him with standards that are outside of what he does. I'm not talking about, like, platforming and who he platforms. It's his prerogative as an entertainer to choose whoever he wants to have on. That's his style. It's controversial, right? But you can't just, like, oh, I want the left side to be controversial and just bringing everybody on for the sake of everybody. Like, no. Stop it. So close this out, because I don't want to make this too long. Joe Rogan has value in the space. He has value in the entertainment space. He's in that space, and he has a function in that space as an entertainer. And just try your best, please, to not misinterpret his role in the wider scheme of things. We are very disorganized people. We are not a politically organized group of people, especially on the left right now. But that doesn't mean that we need a Joe Rogan. It just means that we need to be more organized, and we can have our entertainment. We can watch our Joe Rogans. We can watch our Joy Reids if you care about that. Rachel Maddow's, Don Lemons, who gives a shit? Like they're all entertainers. So whatever entertainers you want to watch, that's fine. But we still need to be focusing, and our priority should be towards political organization, and political organization of not only of yourself, but others around you. With that being said, I hope you enjoy the fights if you're watching them. If not, have a great, depending on when you see this, hopefully it's Friday. But if not, have a great day whenever you see this video. Take care now.